Thanks for watching this episode of TCEA Remote Learning. You can find out more about TCEA Remote Learning at tcea.org/remote learning. My name is Miguel Gulen. I'm a Director of Professional Development for TCEA. You can find me on Twitter at mglearn or email at mgulen@tca.org. Before I go any further, though, I'd like to take a moment and mention that TCA is offering a free 1 year membership. Wow! A free TCA 1 year membership is available if you join today or at least join before Friday, May 8th. And if you're already a member, you can add on another year of membership at no cost by taking advantage of this limited time offer. There are lots of great special interest groups or SIGs that you can join for free for a limited time. Please take advantage of joining those. There's also exclusive webinars and many other great resources that you can take advantage of. Whether you're a teacher, an undergraduate college student, an administrator, if you're involved in education, we invite you to join TCEA. So let's talk a little bit about what our topic for today is. It is Reciprocal Teaching Makes Reading at Home Fun. If you've been looking for an easy, collaborative way to get your at-home students and their families engaged with reading, then Reciprocal Teaching is the tool to use. It doesn't require technology, and you can get going. Very quickly, Reciprocal Teaching involves casting students and perhaps other family members in the role of predictor, questioner, clarifier, and summarizer. Predictors make guesses about what a passage might be about or what might happen next. Imagine sitting as a family. Your student is there with mom or dad or a guardian, and maybe they're watching TV. Maybe they're reading. Maybe they're listening to an audio book, and being able to make predictions about what's going to happen next. This can have such a profound impact on student learning. And reciprocal teaching is a wonderful strategy, and we're going to talk a little bit about what makes it so great. But we want students to internalize the kinds of questions that they would ask when they play the role of predictor or questioner, clarifier, or summarizer. We want them to know what to do when they play those roles. We often think of reading as a solitary act, but data has established that it's intensely social. So it's important for teachers to leverage sharing. So when we think about reading, don't think about giving a child a book or a short text and saying, go off in the corner and read. It's also about how students can talk, have an academic conversation, a metacognitive conversation about what they're reading. So what we'll be doing is exploring some of the research, what it is, why do we need it, does it work, how does it work, and then some models. So let's explore the research first. What is it? Well, reciprocal teaching is what we call a deep learning instructional strategy. It's aimed at fostering better reading comprehension and enables us to do that through 4 steps: summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting. It's called reciprocal because the student and the teacher take turns leading a dialogue about the text in the question. And this is fantastic because it's really about getting the student into the role of the teacher, assuming that responsibility, and talking about text in an academic way. Then asking questions that help us get at predictions, questioning, clarifying, and summarizing X. So as a teacher, you can model the 4 steps. Then you slowly back away and let students take the lead. In a remote learning environment, as we'll discuss in more detail, the teacher can model the 4 steps and then invite students to predict. and then allow them to respond asynchronously, that is, maybe using Flipgrid to uh, share what they think is going to happen next. What questions do they have? What do they need clarified? One of the other key points I want to mention is that if you're familiar with the work of John Hattie, and if you're not, you can read a summary of the research on that. Reciprocal teaching for the last 30 years has had a consistent effect size, that is a 0.74 effect size. Now, if you're not familiar with the barometer of influence, which is what we're looking at on the screen, you can see that there are some instructional strategies that reverse learning, some that have just developmental effects in the sense that, you know, it's pretty much what the students could learn on their own. There's what happens in the classroom with typical teacher effects, and then there's this sort of magic space, this green space here that says between 0.30 and 0.40, where students grow 1 year for 1 year's time spent in a classroom. But what we're hoping to do, though, is not just move students along what would be normal for 1 year, because we often have students that are not on grade level. We want to accelerate student learning, and one of the ways to do that is to use instructional strategies that fall into the zone of desired effects. These are research proven, evidence based instructional strategies that have endured over time. We know they work. And reciprocal teaching is one of those strategies that can accelerate student growth and reading comprehension. And if you do it consistently, if you do it for a month, 3 to 4 times a week, that effect endures beyond that time. So it is a really powerful strategy to introduce to students and to model for them. Why do we need it? Well, if you haven't heard the research, a lot of students only will read less than 15 minutes per day. And unfortunately, um, they don't pick up the metacognitive skills, the questioning skills, the clarifying, the summarizing um, as a result of that. Most students will plod through text and not realize how to deal with some of the ideas. They'll just struggle against it and they won't know what to do. They have no coping strategies for processing these ideas, the text. What happens when they run into an unfamiliar word or some vocabulary word? So it's important to be able to address that. So you can see that high reading engagement equals high reading scores for all socioeconomic groups. So that means that if students are able to read, they're going to do well. And strong reading skills in third grade actually predict success. They're 4 times more likely to graduate high school and 3 times more likely to enroll in college. There's a lot more research behind that, but I'm going to move on because one of the key questions for reciprocal teaching, especially for educators that maybe haven't heard of it or are not familiar with it, is does it work? And the answer is yes. The bottom line is that for over 30 years, reciprocal teaching has proved effective for all ages and situations. And in fact, in New Zealand, as you can see from this graph, they have been using it with a variety of different age groups to great effect. You can see the line represents the average size for a year of teaching in New Zealand. So if you think about it, that bar is pretty low. Reciprocal teaching is what makes the difference. It facilitates achieving a greater effect size for a variety of different populations. So how does it work? Well, reciprocal teaching works in a very simple way. If you want to see dramatic results in your students, you use reciprocal teaching at least 3 times per week for 3 months. 3 times per week for 3 months. Now, if you use it for just 15 to 20 days, comprehension will increase from 30% to 70 to 80%. That is quite significant. So comprehension increases from 30% to 70 to 80%, and that's for just 15 to 20 days. If you want to see even more results, though, use it 3 times per week for 3 months. Now, you may just be starting this out, especially in a remote learning situation. And so, what you'll want to do is ease into this, because even using it for just a month or 8 weeks, 7 weeks that are left of the school year, you're going to see incredible growth. So, one other video here that you can watch, and this person will speak about the different strategies and how to use them. When thinking about how to use this in a remote learning situation, as I mentioned already, you can use Flipgrid to have students model the different roles, and you can ask them to, pick out different roles and use that. There's also a lot of different content from Amazon to 12 Story Learning, Actively Learn, Audible Stories, ListenWise, and Ranger Rick. So a nice range of fiction to nonfiction resources that you can use, that students can use as they are practicing their reciprocal teaching strategies. So I hope that this has been a useful overview of reciprocal teaching for you, and please let me encourage you to watch the videos and then give this a try. You don't have to be perfect your first time out, but it is important and critical to your students that they learn how to apply the reciprocal teaching or Fab 4 strategies when reading texts or listening to audio or watching a video online. Again, my name is Miguel Gulen, and you can find me on Twitter at mglearn, or if you have a question, um, just reach out to me on the phone or Twitter or email. And finally, remember that you can find more great content online at tca.org/remote-learning. Thanks for joining me today.